right, here we go. Another Square Dance Callers Talking. Tonight I have a really good friend of mine. He is from Georgia also. He's not originally from Georgia, and we'll talk about it. Tonight I have Steve Holzhausen. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Charlie?
Very good, Steve. It's awesome to finally get to talk to you, man. We talk several times throughout the year, and you're living in Georgia now. You're on the road. I can tell by where you're sitting. Where are you originally from?
So I grew up in Illinois, a little town, not really little, but a town called Champaign, Illinois, just east of there.
Okay.
I went through school and all that, graduated and went into the military and went to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then I moved down to Atlanta.
Atlanta. So where are you living now in Atlanta? Because you're not in Atlanta, but you're close. Where are you at?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I live down in Loganville. It's on the east side, probably, I don't know, 45 minutes from Metro Atlanta.
Mm. And I cannot recall, I was thinking about it earlier, where we met. I don't know, it was maybe at a Georgia State convention.
Probably.
It had to be something like that. It was a few years ago for sure. But
yeah, I mean, we've been on a cruise together, Charlie.
We have been on a cruise.
I mean, that's been a minute
we knew
ago.
somebody before that. But I was trying to remember the first time I met you. It had to be at state convention because Loganville, where you are, it's not far from me, but it's not super close where we would run into each other. But age-wise, of course, I look much older than you, but age-wise, we were pretty close. We had a lot in common, and with just sense of humor and all that, and so we hit it off pretty well. And then I started coming out to your club. And you currently are the caller for Jug Tavern, yeah?
Yes, sir.
In Winder, Georgia. How long you been calling with them?
It started in 2010, so going on 14 years in April. A quarter of my life, Charlie. A quarter of my life.
So you started with them in 2010. So that means you didn't start square dance calling until you were in Atlanta. When did you start dancing?
So back up where I grew up, of course, I'm like a lot of your other patrons, or interviewees, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents square danced back up in Champaign, so we had a thing within our club, within our organization, that you could not take lessons until you were 13. Mm-hmm. So when I hit 13, I started taking lessons, okay. And so that's been a few years ago, 35 years ago, I guess.
So when did you actually start calling?
So got back into square dancing down here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Angie's uncle is a caller, or was a caller at that time, John Gibson. And we got back in. She got into square dancing, and I got, back into square dancing. And we, I started calling. Basically, John said, "Hey, you ought to try this." And I should have, run. No, but yeah, he, I guess back in 2006 ish, somewhere in that vicinity, he gave me some singing calls to, try and that kind of thing, and just kind of, spoon fed me and got me started. So
okay. So you did a couple singing, and most of us started doing singing calls here and there. Now, I know you for your choreography, man. You're amazing. And I can listen to you all night, and just with the creativity and all that. Are you more comfortable with choreography or the singing part of
it? Patter, 100%.
Okay,
100%. I am not a singing guy. I can. Good friend of mine tells me that I can harmonize. Mm-hmm. And that's all I need to do. And that's exactly what I do, is harmonize.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, patter to me, it actually came super easy. I mean, I can see the choreography a lot easier than I can sit there and try to remember, hey, you got to do this, got to do this, got to do this with singing call.
So who were you, other than John Gibson, who would you consider your mentors, teachers, people that have kept you going in this?
So my I went to Dan Mitchell, who's
Mhm.
a caller down here. Yeah, I know you know Dan.
Oh yeah.
He actually did a colors class, and it was on Sunday afternoons for 2 3 hours, something like that. And he actually taught sight calling. You know how to look at the square, how to recognize where you are, how to resolve that kind of thing. And he didn't. Once I got the basics of the sight calling, he didn't really have to you know stress that as much to me. It was more he was working on the singing calls with me. But Dan Mitchell, uh, hands down, was the number one person that helped me, get to where I am now. John Gibson, like I said, he got me jump started into doing it.
Mhm.
But Dan Mitchell was 100% the reason I flourished with it and kept going. So
That's awesome. I mean that I don't know what you would call it, but the ability to pick up on pattern. And I say that just because I've struggled with it for years, and I feel like I'm getting better with it now that I have
you
my
are.
own club. And you've seen me come up. I've got a picture. I don't know. It was 7 or 8 years ago when you came to a dance that I had booked somewhere, and I was still in the cowboy hat phase and all that. And I think back on that and I was like, God, how bad did that sound? Because I would try and read stuff and I would try everything else. And of course, I've gotten away from all that now with my club. I feel much more comfortable. But yeah,
Sure.
for Patter just to come to you because hey, I'm all about karaoke. I'll get up there and I'll parrot a call back to you in a minute. So the Patter
So
stuff for it to come is great.
so it's funny. It's funny you say karaoke. You remember Johnny Jones?
Oh yeah,
Red Boot. Yeah.
Red Boot. Yep.
Yep. So Johnny and Penny, back before Johnny passed, we actually Johnny worked with me some,
Mhm.
and went over to Johnny's house, and he had this old huge setup with karaoke and everything. He's like, "Why don't you get over there and try to do a song?" It was the most embarrassing thing I could have ever done. It was horrendous, man. I'm not. I say that to say I'm not a karaoke guy. I can't sit there and read something and try to say it
Mhm.
and sound it and everything. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
So,
so-
but yeah, going back to what you were saying about coming to your dance, I remember you used to do color selfies. You remember that?
yeah, yeah.
I actually stumbled. I stumbled upon a couple. I don't know, a couple days ago on Facebook, and I was like, "Oh, look at that! It's color selfie."
That's all. Yeah, I used to do that a whole lot, man. With the cowboy hats and all that. That was a phase, I
Yeah,
guess.
it's good stuff.
So
It's been a
we've
long
known each
time.
other for a long time. Yeah.
We
And
have.
then, like I say, with age and everything else, and our wives are similar in age and all that. Of course, we're older than y'all, a couple years. But we went on a cruise together, not a square dance cruise, just for fun. Because we do have a lot in common, and man, that was a good time. And so we've had I think back and I was like, man, I don't realize how much I've done with Steve. We need to go on another cruise, by the way.
We do.
We absolutely need to
Absolutely.
plan that.
Alaska this time.
Oh, Alaska, that's fine. We're planning on Italy next year or Ireland. So
Yeah.
we're going over that way.
Well,
So
un- unlike some certain people that are on this, I won't be retired next year.
yeah, I'm gonna have a little bit more free time. So we'll see about that. All right. So back to you. You currently travel for work.
I do.
Um, have you done any traveling square dance wise calling?
So, going back to the cruise, we actually did a cruise back in 2008, 2009, something in that vicinity.
Mhm.
Um, and it was an Alaska cruise.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was myself, Clyde Couch, and Bill
Mhm.
McVeigh. And we did a cruise. I, I know you. Well, you just got back from a
Mhm.
cruise, a square
Just got
dance
that.
cruise. Let me tell you, that was the most awkward dancing I've ever done.
Yeah. Was it?
Oh man, I don't know if it was just because of where they put us or what. Because I mean, it wasn't we didn't have we had 24, 26 people, give or take. So I mean, it wasn't like we were a huge venue,
Mhm.
but the places that they put us, it wasn't very dancer friendly, to say the least.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a little awkward, but so I did that. I've been to Alabama, done their state convention a few times, Tennessee, um, South Carolina, Georgia, and before COVID, I had a Florida gig lined up, but COVID hit and we
Uh,
ended up doing it. Yeah, that's all right.
Now, with the state conventions, I know pretty much what they entail. I've been to Alabama and Tennessee. Going back to Alabama this year, by the way. What are your plans going forward? I mean, you're going to do some state conventions this year. What do you think?
I probably will. I know I'll go to the Georgia convention.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know if we'll it really depends because I honestly I work a ton. Um, Overworked, underpaid, you know how it is.
I know, I know.
But well, I mean job security. Um, but I've had to do a lot of stuff. Actually, we were talking when the Nationals are hitting up in Wisconsin. I'm supposed to be up there doing work. So
Yeah, you're going to be north of us. Yeah.
yeah, but that's all right. We'll hook up and eat
Well,
dinner or
yeah,
something.
that'd be awesome, man. If you could come down there, or we can meet halfway in between.
Yeah, well, I'll be in a
Oh,
company vehicle, so
no, I understand.
But yeah, I mean, work is really really pressing, and it's been real hard past couple past 2 years. But hopefully things are going to lighten up, and I can do a little bit more traveling.
Okay,
I like dancing just as much as I like calling. So
sure. Well, we'll definitely plan something together. We'll get out on the road and
absolutely.
do some stuff. Um, of the places you've called, and I ask a lot of people this, do any venues stand out to you? Something memorable, whether it be the hall or dancers or anything like that?
Ooh, good question. You know, I'm gonna have to say my home team.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to say Jug Tavern.
Doug Taggart. Okay.
And I hope they got a board meeting tonight or a club meeting tonight. I hope they don't get fired. But I feel comfortable with them. I mean, they're a great family.
Mhm.
I can joke around, play around with them, and have a lot of fun. And I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, the Alabama convention, I love going to it. Georgia convention, we've moved venues quite a few times. But it all comes back to being with your family, and that I
Sure.
feel I feel real comfortable and happy whenever people that I haven't seen for a minute come up, and so I mean other than that, I mean a one night stand at a dance is not my thing to gloat
Gotcha.
about. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
I understand. I will say this, and I've had the opportunity. I've called a bunch of tips at your club with you, done some stuff while you were there with me, and then we'd get up and do stuff together. A couple times when you couldn't call, I was hired over there to do some dances. And I will say, just on the average, and it's got to be your teaching because you've been there for since 2010. Some of the best dancers, and I think it's partly because of your ability with your patter and teaching classes. Just really good dancing coming out of that area, and of course, it has to go back to you. So,
It's a
thank
team
you
effort,
for that.
team
I'm
effort,
sure.
brother.
I'll tell you
And
another thing
teaching
about
with it.
Jug Tavern, and I preach this to some of the dancers that I go to, whether it be a one night dance or my club. You have to get out and travel a little bit, go to other clubs. If there's nothing close to you, you got to get out and drive a little bit. And a lot
Absolutely.
of your dancers, I will see they'll come over to either Calhoun or I'll see them in Kennesaw or they'll be somewhere. So it certainly helps. And of course, your patter, your ability for choreography makes better dancers. That's for sure. So
Yeah. Well, I have fun with it, and as long as the dancers enjoy it, I've done my job. So make it a little bit challenging, but then have fun with it.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
So, when you're not doing square dance stuff, music, calling, whatever, what type of music do you listen to? What do you do in your regular world?
Um, so I would have to say country music obviously is, probably you know, the favorite. I can't say that word style. I can't say the G word.
Genre? Okay.
Yeah, there you go. What he said. Um, Country is by far probably my favorite. I can get into 90s music, that kind of stuff, but it falls back to old country, new country, I like them both.
Okay. Now, you are a choreography guy, and so you said you're not a big fan of the singing part of it. Do you have a favorite singing call or singing calls?
Um, I like King of the Road.
Oh,
Um,
I think
you
the
know,
first place I ever did it was with you.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I do like it. I Sweet Caroline. I like Sweet Caroline.
Wow. Okay. That's
Yeah,
strong. Yeah.
you didn't catch that. You didn't see that one coming.
No, I
I
did not.
I
That is
typically,
a hard song. That's it.
oh, it is, but it's so much fun.
Yeah.
Um, you know, other than that, any music that's upbeat. I mean,
Mhm.
just like with pattern music, I don't like the 19. Sorry, anybody that I offend. I don't like the 1970, 1960, 1940
Mhm.
versions of music. I like more upbeat stuff. So I mean, if the music is upbeat, I am a faster caller. I do call to the score to the floor, obviously, but it I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sit there and be slow. I
Yeah.
don't
I got
I
you. I
prefer
got
not to be slow, I should say.
you. Caroline.
You're right. Notes like a baby,
The
brother.
next time we get together, we might have to do a little workshop on Sweet Caroline, just so I can figure out how to do it. Because I'd love to do it. I just
As
cannot.
long as I can do the bop bop bop, we're good.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, any singing call, next door to Alice.
Okay.
Alice, who the heck is Alice?
Yeah.
Any singing call that you can get the dancers involved in, I
Yeah.
feel is a good singing call, because if the dancers are comfortable enough and they get to vocalize and that kind of thing, it's a win-win situation. I mean, it's like doing ladies center of the men's sachet. All the girls go and go woo.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's I teach that on one of the first nights of classes, because that's a branch of excitement for them,
Sure.
so anything you can do to keep the dancers excited, that's all that matters.
Yeah. You do well with that. You have a strong club with the dancers and all that. One of the larger ones in Georgia currently, and which is good too. Being a choreography guy, favorite call, or do you have one?
Well, that's a tough one. I like Dixie style.
Dixie style. Okay, it's a good one.
Yeah. Um, I do like Dixie style. I don't think enough people give it credit. I mean, we're just talking mainstream, right?
Right,
I
right, right.
mean, um, I don't think enough people give it credit for what it does.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think there's enough left-handed stuff that gets taught or practiced.
Agreed.
So, I would say Dixie style.
Okay.
Do a nice chain down the line from two face lines, Dixie style. It flows real nice, and you can play from there. So yeah,
Yep,
you're gonna use that. You stole it, didn't
I did.
you? You can steal anything
I
I
tell
got,
people
Charles.
this started out just to talk to other people, and then I was like, you know what? This is a caller school for me, sir.
Hey, you know what? It's just like I know you're going through. Are you going through classes now? or you just finished them?
We just finished last month, and we start back next month, I believe.
Every time I go into class, I tell my students, and I mean it wholeheartedly. Every time I do a class, I learn something.
Mhm.
That's one of the benefits of doing the class, in my opinion. So, I mean, with you doing this, oh, by the way, congratulations. I know you're real close to your 1 year anniversary, by the
Oh,
way.
thank you, man. Yep, yep.
Yeah. I
I
believe I'm
think,
number
yeah, I think you're
number
52. Yep.
I am number 52. So I am in the first year, even though we talked about it back when you first started.
Yep. You were the first anniversary. Yeah.
Good stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's same thing with anything with life. If you can learn something every day, it's beneficial for you. And if even if it's something as simple as learning a different way to explain a move,
Mhm.
I feel, as long as I learn something from the classes, they're beneficial. So
On that, with the teaching and all that stuff, as far as dancers, I understand that. But do you have any advice or anything for callers, people that are just starting out, or people that have 10, 12 years? What keeps you going? What kind of drives you with your choreography and just the calling part of it?
have fun.
Have
Have
fun.
fun.
Yep.
If you don't have fun, if uh, I've I've said this to everybody I've known, they once it stops being fun, I'm gonna walk away.
Mhm.
Um, and knock on wood, this is fake wood, but anyways, um, knock on wood, it hasn't stopped being fun for me. You got to have fun with it. You got to love what you do. I mean, and that's truth with anything, but have fun. Um, don't try to bite off more than you can chew, but bite off a little bit to chew on, if that makes sense. I mean,
Yep.
um, for as far as new colors, if you need a record set up and records, give me a call. I've got way too many. but but as far as no, seriously, as far as new colors though, if you can get in and start teaching,
Mhm.
and I'm sure Charlie, you'll agree with this, you will learn so much from your first couple classes.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's a twofold. You get new students in, you get people exposed to the square dance world, you get to meet new friends, but at the same time, you're you're developing your skills as
Mhm.
much as you're developing theirs.
Right.
Um, I couldn't. Well, I do know who my first class was. I've actually got a couple dancers, and you used to call him the tall guy with the cowboy hat.
Yep. Tall guy with the cowboy hats, Brian.
Brian and Connie Keener. They were part of my first class that I ever taught. They're still dancing,
Wow. Yes, they are.
and but you know, to see 14 years later that they're still dancing
Mhm.
gives me a lot of satisfaction. And the newer callers need to realize, whenever I first started teaching classes, yeah, I knew how to dance. I didn't know anything about teaching classes,
Right.
but I mean, there's a ton of resources that you can get, online, on
Mhm.
Color Lab, on, you know, uh, just research, be prepared for your class,
Mhm.
and teach classes. They help
Yeah.
out tremendously.
A couple things on that. I will say that there's a handful of I've traveled around a little bit, but I'm mainly Georgia. Um, and so I know a lot of people in the Georgia area at different clubs. And there's a handful of dancers out there, especially the ones that are already paired up, Brian and Connie.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got a handful of others. If I walk in somewhere and they're good about, if I'm anywhere near where they are, they will come to my dance. And it is such a feeling of confidence and security when you see a couple walk in. First of all, fantastic dancers. Second, they
Absolutely.
walk in and you're just like, okay, as long as they're one or four, I am good to go tonight. And I've got couples at my club now, same thing. Or if I go to Kennesaw, I walk in there and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm on them. I know as long as they're one or four, I am good because that's what I do right now. Um,
Right. Sure.
just for security. If I don't know everybody, I'm going to go with a primary and secondary couple and kind of work off of that. So a little plug for Connie and Brian there. Great people.
They are. Absolutely.
But I was going to something else I was going to say about that. But as far as the learning, when I got my club, I banged around for a few years doing dances here and there, doing tips here and there, and I saw a little improvement here and there. But when I finally got a regular club, Calhoun, where I call that now, for the Cherokee Promenaders, everybody told me, hey, you're going to see a difference. And I did when I was calling twice a month, sometimes 3 times a month, because the other caller, Dan, if he can't make it, Dan Campbell, if he can't make it, I'll fill in for him.
Yep.
But the reps, the repetition, and getting out there. And so I started seeing a difference, when every week or so I was out there and I was doing stuff, doing pattern, working on this. And then we started teaching classes. Again, you see it. Because when you're teaching somebody whatever call it is, if you're working on a call, you then start seeing, how do I get the couple back to do that call again? And so you're figuring those things out. I've seen a huge difference in me since this past year when I taught mainstream and plus. So yeah, those are great words there for callers when it comes to teaching.
Well, I mean, it's just
you learn more than the dancers. I really
absolutely.
think that.
Well, I mean, just think about like week 4 or 5. You'll get them away from their partners. They don't necessarily know, the go-to calls to resolve the square. So you've got to figure out a different way to get them back to their corner. I mean, it just makes it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun learning
I agree.
learning the ways to get out.
And I say that when Marcia and I, when we go to a convention or we go on a cruise or we do everything with there's other callers, I look forward to, first of all, dancing, but secondary, I look forward to just sitting on the side and listening. Hey, I haven't heard this guy in 6 months. Let me just listen to the singing calls are great, and I'll listen to some of them that are big singers, but I'd rather sit there and listen to somebody do choreography. And of course, I'm recording on my phone the whole time. I'm like, yep, stealing that. Go home and start working it out with checkers and all that, writing it down. So I got your chain down the line, Dixie style. I already got that right.
It works out very good. I stole it from Dane Mitchell. So
Dan is awesome too. I want to talk to him. I got to get him on here at some point too. I don't even know if he has Zoom. We can't get him off of records right now. We're trying to get him on a laptop for Square Dance. It's tough enough.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, he's only 15 minutes from my house. I'll bring my computer over.
When you get back to town, maybe we'll sit down and you can sit there and you can produce it from his house. So we'll do that.
As long as I get royalties off of it, Charlie.
Oh, absolutely. As soon as YouTube starts paying me for some of this advertising,
I know, right? Half of nothing is nothing.
Yeah, that's exactly. You get what you're paying for on that one. But what I wanted to talk to, we've got something in the works also. I was wanting to, on the same line as teaching and working with students and working with dancers. So I wanted to put something together, whether it be for a full Saturday, half a Saturday, dance and all that, for workshops and all that. And so I put out a couple of feelers here and there, and I have secured Hot Atlanta, which is in the city of Atlanta, Briarcliff Road and all that. We've got the address and all that. April the 13th, me and you have booked an afternoon and a nighttime dance. So I want to talk about that for a few minutes. And a little more on that. We've got flyers and all that coming out. But I wanted to do something where, because, and you can probably give me your opinion on this, after the COVID break, for lack of a better term, the dancing, and I'm calling to a point, because you didn't get to call for a year, more or less. And then some people a year and a half, 2 years. And the dancing, same thing. We're dealing with people our age and older for the most part. So the dancing kind of fell off too.
Absolutely.
And again, it's because of repetition and doing it. And so the calling was hurt by it. The dancing was hurt by it. So I've noticed in the year or two we've been back, going at it, the dancing, whether it be mainstream or plus, is a little weaker than it used to be. So I wanted to put something together. So we're doing a Saturday in Hotlanta. We're going to do from 2 to 4:30, I believe. These times are going to be on the flyers, and I'll put all that out. We're going to do a workshop, an intense workshop for plus in the afternoon. We're going to talk this weekend about how we're going to set it up. So, have you done anything like this before with the weekends, the Saturdays?
Not a no. I mean, we've had refreshers, but nothing, that we're like you and I talked that we're gonna, go a little bit more in depth with
Mm-hmm.
you know, the biggest thing right now is like you said, the level of dancing. And like I said, it's partially the caller's faults as well. I mean, we're not challenging the squares enough.
Mm-hmm.
They start to break down and we just back off,
Right.
um so I mean, we've done, plus refreshers and that kind of thing, but I mean, it's all typically standardized positions, and the the basic plus, textbook plus, so to say. um and I think we're going to go a little bit more in depth
Absolutely.
on those moves, and um I mean, it's all by definition, so to say. I mean, it's stuff that should have been taught that may or may not have been taught.
Yep.
So
I can say this: if when we do get together, when I'm out at Jug Tavern or we run up on each other, when you come to dances that I book in the area or whatever like that, it's always a good time. We've got a similar sense of humor, and so we
absolutely.
have a lot of fun with it. So I'm really looking forward to this. And then we're going to do a dance. We're going to work on some stuff that afternoon. And my plan is, I've gone to a lot of these things, whether it be a weekend or something like that, and watch the way they do it. And I've talked to some people. So a lot of stuff we're going to work on from different positions, and just to kind of strengthen the plus stuff, and then go into the dance and use that in the dance. And I think a lot of people will get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So, of course, me and you, we're going to put a ton of work into this before we ever
Oh,
get to the.
we will have a lot of fun with it, to say the
So,
least.
looking forward to that, man. And we'll get
Absolutely.
the flyers out. So, you travel with work as you are right now. So, what do
Right.
you, and you call for Jug Tavern. You also are doing classes for another club. Tell me about that.
So yeah. Um, so actually, I've got classes at both clubs. I've got classes down at Lads and Lassies, which is in Stockbridge. It's
Heartbreaking.
south of Atlanta. Yeah. Um, we've got 27, 28 students, something like that. Um, yeah, and they're doing pretty good. We graduated last year. We did classes there and graduated 17. Um, so I'm going down there. They don't have a set club caller,
Mhm.
so they're kind of, they'll get me typically one of the two dance nights for the month.
Mhm.
And but yeah, I got classes down there, and then we've got classes up in Jug Tavern that we've got somewhere around the same vicinity, 26, 28 students as well.
Gosh, that's good. That's so good.
It's a six squares. It's nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's because I get around a little bit, and you go in, and some of the dances are 1, 2, 3 squares, but to have that many students is fantastic.
It
Oh.
is. Yeah, it's pre-COVID, it was pretty strong. We were dancing 7, 8 squares
Mhm.
typically on any Jug Tavern night. Um, and now that's dropped down to, 4 or 5. But the only way we're gonna get the dance numbers back up is by teaching classes and
Oh.
and retaining um dancers.
Mhm.
I think it was if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Tony. I was listening, like I told you, I was listening to your podcast earlier today,
Mhm.
my 4.5 hour drive. But
Best time to listen to it, but okay.
Hey, you know what? And I paid attention. I didn't fall asleep, so it's good.
Good, good, good.
But Tony was talking about, I believe it was down in Texas, maybe, that they had the big, huge, the Civic Center. They had I forget what they call it, but they were dancing like 70
Yeah,
squares.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember what you're talking about.
That was
It
Tony,
was
right?
Texas. Yep, that was Tony.
Yeah. So, and he said that they learned pretty quickly that the dancers have got to be invested in the lessons. Otherwise, what good is it?
Right.
And I think that's honestly, that's one of the things that we're going to run into, because I mean, anybody can come and pay $5 for classes, and come in, do classes, go home. We've had a lot of turnover of people that graduate classes, and then they just Houdini. Yeah, they're poof, they're gone.
Yeah.
Which is horrible. So I mean, I just wish I knew the answer to that. I guess if anybody's got that answer, hit me up. But you can solve the world problems right there.
I don't understand it. When of course I went through class a really long time ago, and it was just kind of when you got done with class, you joined the club
Yep,
and you go dance. And then if you danced on Friday nights, then Saturday nights you went to somebody else's club somewhere nearby. You danced to
sure,
them, you know, and you probably danced every weekend at least once somewhere. Now,
absolutely.
even if a dancer joins the club, not all, but they dance every other Friday with you, and and then they come to you and they're like, I'm not getting any better at this. And I'm like, well, you got to dance more than twice
You
a
got
month, because
it.
I've got to call more than twice a month. If I don't call more than twice a month, it's a disaster when I walk out there. You
Yeah,
know.
been there, done that. I mean, look at what COVID did to us.
Mhm.
I mean, when COVID hit, I mean, I know my calling hit a huge
Oh,
nosedive.
absolutely. And some of my dancers get tired of it. I'm like, you know what? Calling to sofa pillows is not working. I've got to have people in front of me. I can't sit in my living room and do it.
Yeah,
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 it
no, I
hurts.
agree. It's but yeah, I mean, it's like everything else. It's until it becomes muscle memory,
Mhm.
it's use it or lose it. Um, True story. My mom actually lives down here. My dad lives in Clearwater, and they actually do dance down that way.
Mhm.
But my mom lives here in Georgia, and a couple of times she's came to our dances, and she's 80 years old now. But she'd get out there and just like that, pick it right back up.
No
She,
kidding.
I mean, and she's done it multiple times. So, once that's a good testimony for once it becomes muscle memory for you, and you know what you got to do. It's set in stone for you.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I forgot that your dad was down in Clearwater. At some point, I got to get back down in that direction because I do a lot. I spend a lot of time in Tampa. Um,
Mhm.
Maybe I can call to him again. I forgot that he'd moved down there.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, we'll talk about that. Maybe
Okay.
we can get something organized.
Oh, I,
Yeah,
I got a buddy down there, Scotty Shearer. He's got a club in Tampa. We can absolutely go down there and
I'm
put
tired.
something together.
Siri's talking to me. Sorry.
We'll definitely put something together. Well, Steve, I'm not going to keep you, buddy. I know you're on the road
Yeah,
for regular work. So I will talk to you when you get back. We will have to work on getting Dan Mitchell on here. So you're going to have to do
absolutely,
some production part on your side.
absolutely.
We'll talk more about the Hotlanta stuff that we got coming up for the Plus Extravaganza Saturday.
Saturday, the
So
February or
18,
April the
April the
13th.
13th. Yes, sir.
Yes.
We'll do
Yep.
that. Steve, man, it was a pleasure doing this. I talk to you on the phone once a week, once every 2 weeks, I guess. So it was a lot of fun doing this.
Charlie, I appreciate you.
Yeah, brother.
I
I'll let
appreciate
you.
you doing this. I've actually learned a lot. More people need to listen to your podcast
Oh,
because
dude,
you can learn a lot. You
thanks
know,
for saying that, man. I appreciate it. So,
absolutely.
like I said, that's a main reason I started, and I tell everybody I started it so callers out there can get their word out, and what their thoughts are on it, because not everybody travels. Luckily, I'm to the point where I can travel a little bit. I go to a lot of state conventions, a lot of other caller conventions. Not everybody can do it. You've got a full-time job where you travel, so it's tough for you to get out on the weekends. So, man, this is about you, Steve. You're an awesome dude, man. And
Charlie, I appreciate it, brother.
I will see you this Sunday when we go to dinner, sir.
Sounds good. Tell Marcia we said hey.
Will do, Steve. I'll talk to you
See
soon,
you, brother.
buddy. Yeah, man.
All right.
Bye.